the reason that I came forward in 2021 at the Lincoln Memorial was at the behest of this council of beings who wanted Washington, essentially, and all of the intelligence agencies to know, essentially, that time is running out. Time is up.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lauren.live, the spirituality and health podcast. I have Anjali Schultz with me. How are you today?
Hello, very nice to see you, Lauren. I'm doing really well.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, I'm really pleased to have you on the show. I had the opportunity to chat with Anjali about a month ago on the phone. So we kind of got to know each other and a little bit about her crazy cool story and gift that she gets to share with everybody. Some people may be familiar with who you are, others not. So Anjali is a former intelligence officer, and she's been visited by beings. She calls it the council, or they like to be called the council, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're beings from other places, not on Earth. So we're going to be talking about whatever you want to call it, beings, ETs, aliens, divine messengers, you name it. But she is basically a bridge for them, and she has a lot of really cool work and messages that she's trying to get out to the world. So I know that's a lot, and that's not everything, but we don't have forever, so I really want to get in because there's just so much to share.
Yeah.
Can you just give a quick background just on like the council, like how did these people even start coming through to you? As when you were younger, correct?
Right. My earliest memory of contact with what I would consider another person, another kind of person that I've been calling beings. I was 4, and we were a military family, and we lived in Jacksonville, Florida. Long story short, there was a craft that was witnessed over our home by dozens of people, and including my mother. And I have an upcoming episode of a program that I'm putting together to help showcase some of those moments with 2 of the witnesses who were there that night, who can't testify to the fact that I was in the craft. Okay, I'm the only one who can do that, but they can testify that I was not with them, and that I was the only one who wasn't there. So I met them that night, and they introduced me to a lot of children who didn't look quite human enough. They looked very other. And there were adults who were there as well, who also looked, what we would consider to be more other than human looking, but they had a lot of the features. They were all hairless, and lighter skin, more of a, like somewhere between a tan and a gray color. Large eyes, small mouths, small noses, very lanky. And they just said that they were my family, and that these other children who were there were other attempts to put their consciousness into a human enough body, a body that can experience the full experience that we do in this materialization and in this kind of biotechnology. They call it a biotechnology. So I was successful, and so they said that they planted me in my mother, and here we are today. And so that was my earliest contact memory. And, it gets gets very interesting from there.
Really. Yeah. I mean, I've heard things like this, so it's still like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But also I've heard it, so I'm like, okay, well, I've heard many people telling me this kind of stuff. Like I go to a medium that says she sees them floating in the over Bellevue, which is a suburb, like all the time, darting around, and she's seen people like shapeshift, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it's like I totally believe it, but it is just fascinating. And obviously this is a cool time to be doing this recording because there's obviously been some recent public disclosures now. So it's not so conspiracy anymore. I mean, we're actually getting government saying things, and who cares really about that? Because a lot of us know it's existed before, but I just think this topic might be even more interesting to people because, you know, they want evidence, and they want to, they do. Yeah. They're skeptical, and I get that.
Absolutely. And anyone and everyone should be skeptical. I think that the best way for anyone to find out whether or not the phenomena is real and engaging with us is for those people to go out and really seek those experiences and seek that contact, and not just seek to refute, but seek to find. And so intention has a lot to do with it. And I don't really quite understand that other than to address it from like a frequency. Yes, they're saying that it has to do with resonance. And if you are, hold on. I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time understanding. Okay, I understand. Okay, so I have to apologize. Please accept my apology. So what they were doing was actually communicating with me about something that I had been thinking about right before the show, and I got a little confused. So what they want us to understand is that at any moment where we are, it almost looks like a procession, like where the earth is and where the astral bodies are and the astronomical bodies are, in like it. This is wild. It's like, it looks like this almost like but it's like it's supposed to be us like moving through like space or something, but it looks more like this. It's almost like it's folded on each other or something, but that as we go through that, though, as we're traveling, like we're not just moving around the sun, and we're not just rotating, that we're also moving through space, which we all understand. But they're saying that it's almost like a procession, like a procession of a cycle that we continue to repeat, that it's bigger than the cycle that we're even able to observe because we're inside of it. Right. And we don't have the ability to look outside and see the larger perspective that they have. And so depending on where our personal vibration is, okay, whether our thoughts are more oriented towards neutrality and not having a position, really trying to ride that stoic, anything that happens is fine. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's fine, or leaning more towards the side of a more positive orientation where we seek compassion and unity before we seek to be right, and the needs of ourself over we will deprioritize for the needs of others, versus really having more of a threat orientation perspective of life, and feeling that life is a competition with others, and that there is this real definitive line between you and me, and there's no, there's no blur, there's no, shared biome or energy. And so that's a spectrum that we can all be on at any point. And that while we're going, I'm trying to get all to this, while we're going through this like time space, what we're experiencing is different groups. It's like different time periods that we're like, it's so confusing. It's like both of those things. Like there's only certain periods of time that we'll be able to interact with certain beings. And it's all part of the procession, this larger procession that I don't understand.
Wow. I mean, it's like, I get it, but it's just,
I don't know.
It's a lot, right? Like this, well, I should say first, Anjali had told me this, and I'm familiar with this from working with people that are kind of, I call you like bridges, or like you are your bridge to another dimension or other, messages, basically. That's so amazing for us. It's a gift for people that don't get things that come through, but she's literally getting things live. That's why she's like, hold on, I'm getting something. So she's literally getting stuff coming in all the time. And so even in podcasts, right? Like, I'm asking a question, they might even be able to answer. So that's what's so cool about this. So if you kind of hear her saying things like, hold on, wait a minute, that's her actually getting information, and then you have to kind of translate it in, or like I've heard before, it's almost like a radio signal. Like sometimes you're not fully understanding what they're saying, and you have to kind of like piece it together, right?
That's right, because it's not words, they're not speaking English into my brain.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to even wrap my own head around, even though I experience it. I get a face, and with that face that's like their hello, right. And I receive an intention with it. So it's like, maybe it's like a soul mark or something, like, hey, this is who I am. I'm not really sure, but everyone feels a little different. Okay. So the intentions are what is so super cool, is that you feel that vibration pretty quick. And so it's easier to decide whether or not you want to engage, because free will is a very strong part of this. So you can decide whether or not you want to engage by how you resonate with that hello. And then you just suddenly get this information. It comes in like an image that has all kind of metadata in it that tells you all about, it's all, and you just all know all the information at once. And then you have to try to, like, I don't want to say back engineer, but intention is so perfectly there, but interpreting and putting it through this biotech and trying to sift it and not put in personal biases and inject dogma, to try to not do those things and just figure out exactly what they're trying to say. It's really challenging, but it's magical at the same time, because when you get it, when you feel like it's kind of like stumbling through a forest, and then you come into a small clearing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And all of a sudden, stumbling through the forest, it wasn't so bad. Right. That's kind of what like getting the download at first is like. It's kind of like stumbling around, in some deep underbrush, trying to figure out exactly what it is that just happened and how to explain it. And then it kind of starts to sort out in our own, our own little computers, brains. And
that comes out into a language as best you can. Yeah.
And in a way, before it comes out of my mouth, I usually will get some kind of confirmation that like I'm going the right way. Like, yes, continue, so.
That's fascinating. So like, You said that there are different beings that come through. Do you ever see the same one or have this, conversations or stuff that comes through, like you said, the council? Like, are there ones that are steady in your life that come through? And then
Yes.
Are there just different ones that randomly come in as well?
There are mostly steady ones that come that I have relationships with. Every once in a while, I will hear from someone that I'm not familiar with. And sometimes I don't engage, sometimes I do, and it's not really helpful. It's confusing in some way. And I think, whoa, is this some, I know it's going to sound funny, but is this some rogue actor that's,
Sure.
talking to me now? And, because it might just be a little off and I'm not really sure, if I'm not resonating or,
Sure.
Exactly what's wrong. But, it's a wild experience, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And really, one of the things that they wanted, the reason that I came forward in 2021 at the Lincoln Memorial was at the behest of this council of beings who wanted Washington, essentially, and all of the intelligence agencies to know, essentially, that time is running out. Time is up. What is running out? What happens at the end of that time? I'm not really sure. But they really wanted Washington, D.C. to be very clear that they are here, and that it's time for disclosure, that we are coming to the end of a cycle, actually a couple of cycles that seem to be kind of, interwoven with each other, and that we have to prepare for that we are going to start experiencing more open contact with them, and that the more of us who meditate and put our mind towards having positive, open relationships with the other beings, that the more, like it's almost like it'll speed it up. Like it's almost like it's like we're helping, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but like the more that we do it, the more we manifest it. And so it's incredibly important to be mindful of the narrative that we tell ourselves, the narratives that we buy into, that they say, as far as I'm concerned, as long as they're going to give that advice that we have to be careful about the narrative, then I go, oh, okay. Well, that means I have to be careful about your narrative too. Right. Let's examine every narrative, and make sure that we're going out there mindfully intending to have positive relationships with beings that are telling us that it is inevitable, that it will happen, and that it begins with conscious communication, and that is how they will familiarize us with them prior to us physically sharing the space and being able to perceive them with our physical senses, with our material senses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That they will get to know us through other ways first, and we will get to know them, so that when we meet them, we will know who they are. We'll be like, oh, there you are.
And we won't be like scared, right? Because everyone just thinks like it's like a movie, and you just like see the alien and like, let's go shoot them. They're bad.
That's right.
It's like, well, that's one reason. I mean, maybe you can't. I don't know how much you weren't going to get censored, but like, I have actually been censored once before, not on this topic, but it's like, why is the government taking so long to disclose this? Well, too many people are having contact. Too many people kind of know. And then there's just people that like think they know because they like see all these movies and they want to believe, like I want to believe, right? Like that whole thing. But we're intrigued for a reason. But I think there's two reasons. I mean, you probably know more than I do because you have a government background, but it's like, they can't keep this forever. We know like there's anti-gravity and Nikola Tesla, there's these technologies that exist. higher intelligence, right? And I feel like I've just heard so many people like literally talk about them. Actually, there are different hybrids like walking around on Earth too. Just a lot of us don't know that or can't see it. So I think it's being sprinkled. One, you can't give it to it all at once. People are going to freak out, right?
That's right.
So like
yes,
you said,
absolutely.
Like, let's talk with them telepathically. Let's see some UFOs. Like they're kind of,
you start to show them show an image of themselves. Usually that's how my very first memory of them was, seeing an image of them. I was a child when I was really tiny, but the older that I got, I had two other incidences where they would like transform. I keep looking at them like they're over here, but they're not. It's just my mind's eye. Where I was watching an owl, and the owl transformed very slowly into a being right there in front of me. And I lost hours and hours of time after that. And so it can be quite an ontological shock. But we're getting to a point where we are ready. And not only are we ready, but they're saying that there are things that are going to happen to our physical environment that is making it necessary for us to prepare for this contact, because it's simply going to happen, not because they're going to make it happen, not because anybody is making it happen, but there are going to be conditions where in this procession, it's a new word. It just came today when we were talking, and it came, and I understood for the first time. I was like, wait, this is like a procession of things, and like we're going through it, and so it's inevitable that this is going to happen. And so rather than scare the bejesus out of everybody, they're truly trying to do a number of things. One, prepare everyone spiritually so that it isn't such a shock.
Right.
Start that conscious communication, set those intentions now, to seek to understand how this is happening. How in the world is any of this really possible? I don't have the answer to that. I have no idea, but they want us to seek after that answer. Because it's in that willingness to accept that we don't have those answers that the possibilities begin to open up in front of us, and it's like doors to the mind opening, and that's how they're able to communicate, is by us being open to it. Right. So it's inevitable, and we're coming to a point where there are beings who are looking for their people that they have placed inside of this biotechnology that materializes here, and that's able to live here in this world, on this planet, and have these experiences with these senses. They're saying that they have that there are people that they're looking for who are literally there. It's so the veil here. It's like a veil. I don't know how else to call it. And I was blown away that everybody else was calling it that. I thought I had discovered something. I didn't discover anything. Everybody else has already been talking about it. I was like, oh, so we're all on the same page about this veil thing? News to me.
I'm trying to work on lifting mine, honey. Let's just, peel it
it was
back.
Wild. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Oh, but anyway, so they're saying that it's so that like the density here is it's like we're so heavy and so far from like the source of our conscious energy, okay, that allows us to connect to information, right. To allow us to have knowledge, to allow us to materialize and our intentions, and to experience a manifestation, that material energy rather than the spiritual energy. And they both come from the same place, but where we're so far on the other end of the spectrum that we're at the dark end, we're at the dark edge, and the light in the source of our consciousness is so far away from us that that we literally just sleep. And all they need us to do is wake up so that they can find us. Right. They want to find their people. So that's happening too. So it's very complicated. And that's why I thought that the best thing for me to do, rather than go on a series of podcasts and programs where I have, a finite amount of time to explain things and retell stories, unfortunately, rather really get into that nitty gritty, was to have a program that I can just tell what is happening. And then I will have other people, other experts who will come on who will kind of try to explain how what I'm saying, is there any possible way that what I'm saying is true? Totally. Whatever it is. I have a really nice lineup of scientists, psychedelic warriors. I'm doing this for some Reddit folks that will be very happy to see that I will have some psychedelic warriors who will come on and will examine not only the experiences that I've had, but how were they sensory wise versus what they have experienced and know from their academic and their personal anecdotal experience with, microdosing and other kinds of psychedelic usage, to explore what does that look like? What are the differences when you're having a psychedelic experience and you have that intention to have that experience versus, just another end of the spectrum, and try to delineate between what is sensory perception and what is material perception. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's really just one, and that's just one program, know.
That's cool that you're working on that. That's a cool angle.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's just so much. Well, I have 2 questions really quick. This one's just maybe a smaller, quick for fun, because then I do want to get more into the deep side that you're talking about, like the consciousness and the awakening, because I think that's the whole point of all this. But just for fun to kind of understand it. The ones that you did see when you're 4, again, because this is just helps people, this is for fun again. This helps people kind of prove it, right? I gather data from guests and people, and I'm creating my own, truths. But do they look like the ones that we see in movies, or the emoji that has the big eyes? It seems like a lot of people are saying they're they have that translucent skin, or that skin with no hair, and they have bigger eyes. It seems like that's very common. Do they look like an alien that we've learned? You know what I mean? Growing up seeing on shows.
I have seen multiple kinds of beings that I would say are humanoid, because they are standing on what, they appear to be bipedal. Okay. That's how they appear. They appear bipedal, and they, have arms and hands, and they use them, and they have shoulders and chests and necks and heads, right. That sort of thing. And so for me, that's humanoid. Right. And maybe,
but they don't have genders. I've heard a lot. They're more just kind of asexual or something, or
I will have to say that. I have a couple of exceptions to that. The ones that people typically call the tall whites, they're the ones with the very alabaster skin. They're very beautiful, and they have very blonde, pale hair, pale blue eyes. Just they're beautiful. Yeah. They're beautiful. They're tall. People call them the Nordics or the tall whites. Yeah. Extremely gendered still. Okay. Definitely the ability to discern between a male and a female pretty easily. But you are correct that in all of the other beings, I have not seen any signs of gender. But with the full light being, the lady that I see, who's peachy and bright and light, and her skin is, I can't even call it skin. It's almost just like she's just encapsulated light.
Yeah, that's cool.
And around her is just ambient. It's not like she's like you're looking at a light bulb. The light is inside of her, and I can't really tell. There's no hair or anything, but it's a very strong, feminine, extremely feminine. Spirit. Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of that too. Like there's feminine and masculine energies, not only here on Earth with humans, but throughout just like the universe itself. It's kind of almost but well, thanks for answering. That's fun. I mean, we could spend a whole episode just talking what they look like. And I read that Patrick DeHaan has the Alien Handbook. If anyone's ever interested, he talks a lot about different descriptions and stuff. But I guess kind of this is a good like segue back into the consciousness and stuff. I know it doesn't necessarily like matter to get into all the details, but because this is what we do and we're humans and we're dissecting, it's part of our understanding. So it's like, from what I've understood, and it's kind of some of the things that you're saying, there are different beings throughout the universe. We're on Earth, we're called humans, and there's like humanoids. It sounds like there's a lot of intelligence, commonality with the intelligent design. Arms, heads, they may be different, but similar, right, designs, which is fascinating in itself.
Absolutely.
So like the creators kind of creating a lot of different beings with similarities, but also differences. So are these beings like, seems like there's like layers of consciousness and different beings that are holding different amounts of consciousness. And I've even heard there are different planets with beings that are less conscious than even we are as humans. And so we're on this path, right, of consciousness, trying to know ourselves, trying to know source. Is the whole point of these beings life to help us wake up? It seems like they're coming through down to you and they're wanting to help us wake up. It's like that's their purpose in the universe, right? It's to help us further wake up to our true self.
Well, I don't know about the true self. Okay. That's not something that they've said.
Okay.
A lot of people have asked me about the higher self, the true self, and I don't know. Okay. I don't know yet, how that or if that plays into this at all.
Okay.
So
I guess when I mean my true self, maybe I should rephrase that.
Okay.
I believe, and I've heard, and again, I don't really know for sure, but just what I'm gathering so far in my life here is that we're all one, we are all connected to source, but we have this veil right now and we're kind of asleep. We're just part of consciousness experiencing itself. Are they helping us trying to know like ourselves as the divine, as part of this consciousness, I guess? Like that's what I mean by true self.
Yes, absolutely. So what's really interesting about the council is that they have said that that they know, this is wild, that they know the creator of this world.
Yeah.
They do not know who created them.
Okay.
But they know who created us.
Interesting.
They are not gods. They are older. They've just been around longer than we have. They're saying that we have the ability to create life just as we were created.
Wow.
Okay, that we are stumbling into that right now, and it's too soon. This is all coming like right now.
Wow.
So they're telling us that it's too soon because we are not consciously awakened, and mindful of our connection to source and to everything. And therefore, when we create like in separation. We're creating in separation from consciousness. That doesn't make sense either. So hold on. I might not be getting that right. Because how can we? Hold on. We're not creating, we don't create in separation, in like separation from consciousness, but we create like unconsciousness.
Oh, okay.
Like unawareness.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. It's almost like the apps, not like being asleep, but like we're creating, because we're so far connected from our own source right now that when we create something, it's like it's not really.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I don't know how to say it.
I understand what you mean. Like what we're creating, it's not like it's the full potential of like this consciousness. It's like we're creating, but it's like it's unconscious in a way. Like, I mean, I understand what you're trying to say.
That's right.
But then
because
like,
we don't. Essentially, we have to evolve and like consciously transcend and coalesce our light consciousness together. Like that's the goal. And there seems to be, at the council level, there seems to be some disagreement, or they're not quite all on the same page about this. But there's another group that is over, I don't want to say over them like a hierarchy, but I mean they're closer to source consciousness. They have more knowledge.
Sure. They're
older, and so they're guides, they're good guides. Sure. And they say that that what they want from humanity, okay, is for humanity to reach its fullest potential, which it means that we are given the free will and to choose our own path of development, and to recognize that when we make those choices, that it does create a decision. It's like a decision point. Yeah. That we're coming up to some really big decision points, and that some of us are going to decide. It's a choice that we are already making. That we're going to decide to do one thing while the other decides to do another thing, and that there's no wrong choice. That everything is on the same path and on the same cycle of basically fully awakening and self-discovery.
It's fascinating. Which I feel like is what's happening in our conscious world with these are easy to say because it's recent stuff, like COVID stuff, like the vaccines, like healthcare, homeschooling, not homeschooling, you get digital currency, regular currency. Like there's so many facets of life that are being shook up. And it's like you said, that we're coming to the end of these cycles, but it's happening for a reason, because it's like shaking us. Like this isn't working. Like, we've heard about all these things.
That's
like
right.
Paradigms, and they're crumbling, but it's true. It's like we really are in this place where we have all these cool technologies. Some of it's helping us, some of it's actually dumbing us down, right? And so you're choosing how do you want to use a podcast? Let's talk about consciousness. Like that's a cool way of using technology, I think. But it sounds like we have these beings that you're talking to, or other people are talking to, that are helping us try to wake us up. But it sounds like they also have guides that are trying to help them, maybe help us or help them with their levels of consciousness too. Is that what you understand? Do they have their own guides?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think that that none of us are ever without guidance, without a spiritual, because we truly are. At this point, I honestly believe that we are all connected.
Yes.
Can I prove it? Well, no, I can't because I'm not a physicist, but I have a really cool upcoming guest that I think is going to prove that we are indeed all the same. And I'm really excited about that. And so, I think that as that we have to respect one another's right to experience this in the way that we want to experience this. Yeah. Okay. Meaning that if there are people who are really not down for disclosure, I don't know what the being's plan is for people who are afraid. I know they have said that if there are some people who don't want to transcend to the next density of consciousness coalescence, if they want to stay in the material third density experience, that they can do that, and that they will just suddenly wake up and they're living a life somewhere else. They have no idea that this ever even happened.
That's crazy.
They will 100% like Earth what?
Forget about it.
Lauren who? Yeah. Who's Anjali? What are you talking about?
But that's kind of interesting.
None of this ever happened.
Like, this is just a theory. It's coming through that you're talking about this. Like, maybe that's what happened to us. Like, maybe we were, I've heard we come from other planets. I've had readings. I've been told I'm come from, a lot of people believe they come from the Pleiades cluster and they have a lot of psychic abilities here now and helping people. But it's like, maybe we were in other worlds and we can't remember that. That's the veil. We're here now experiencing this.
The veil. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just fascinating.
I know.
But it's also,
and it's all we can do is just pontificate.
But it's also so complicated.
Until we get, more.
Sometimes I think I'm like, okay, source, like I get it. Like, you wanted to experience this through Lauren and Anjali and these light beings and Mary and Jesus and animals and trees. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is complex. We're trying to wake up to what we are, but oh my gosh, it's so complex. It's insane, but at the same time, it's so beautiful, and we're all.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. But so this is cool. So I've thought about this before, and you kind of are alluding to this with a lot of your messages. It sounds like we can't wake up, like even just the disclosure thing. Like, we can't all wake up until we're all woken up together. It's a collective thing. It seems like you hear a lot about this from spiritual guides and aliens and spiritual wisdom teachers, that like it has to be a collective awakening in order for anything to change, for densities to change, for cycles to end, for us to become more conscious, right? So that's why it's so important for us to be talking about these things and small sprinkles of disclosure. So over time, everyone might accept it or not accept it, but we're all connected. So it would make sense that it would have to be a group consciousness, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I say absolutely. Like, yes, it absolutely makes sense. Does it absolutely make sense? I don't know. That's probably an overkill.
Sure,
but at this point, this is how my brain works. It's for me, it's a foregone conclusion.
Sure.
But I think that what they want to convey the most is that we have the choice.
Yes.
Okay. And it is a collective awakening. But I don't understand how some will go on to another place and will, have a life there and won't remember any of this. Yeah. And how that happens and what that looks like. I have no idea, but they say that, and then they say we have, that's a choice that we make. And then those of us who want and have awakened because we have sought it and we're ready and we wake up and we want to transcend into the fourth density and move towards consciousness coalescence, then that group will do that.
Yeah.
So that's my understanding of the collective. It isn't that every single human being has to choose the same thing, but that we will collectively go this way or that way.
And we have choices and because maybe you're awakening. Like, I feel like I've awakened a lot just informationally wise, and I've come into intuitive stuff and I feel like I'm awakening, but maybe I'll choose to come back to continue to awaken people. Or maybe I decide I want to go somewhere else. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But because the whole thing about reincarnation, right? Like maybe we have all been continuing to just come back into this 3D plane. We haven't learned our lessons, or we're intrigued, or we're trying to wake up more. Like there's probably multiple reasons.
It has something to do with a very long cycle, and that might be what prompted the procession comment from them today, was that we're coming into a point where it's almost like a train stop, like the train's coming in, we only come to this train stop, once every 25,000 years or whatever. And so we better get off now,
or you're going to,
if you want off, or you're going to, we'll see you in 25,000 years or whatever.
That's fascinating.
And I mean, I say whatever, I'm not trying to, throw things around. It's just that
a lot. It is.
24 to 25,000 years. What's, I don't know. What's the difference when we're talking like that? I don't know.
Wow. It is quite fascinating.
So we're coming up to like a pit stop, a point in the procession where we'll be able to make decisions that won't be able to be made for quite a while otherwise.
Right. Yeah, and maybe all these things happening on Earth, all this chaos, it's like a chance to look at it in a different perspective. And I think it has awakened a lot of people. I think some of these things, as horrible as they are, they're gifts. A lot of people have said I started the podcast during COVID, and I know a lot of people wrote books and have their own awakenings. Like there's a lot of gifts in this turmoil, and I think it's a chance for us to look at things differently. So one other question, because this is fascinating. So, your guides have said that they know that this was created by multiple creators, this Earth, or a creator.
They haven't said, they just said they know who created this.
So there is a creator of this particular planet and experience, which would allude to there being other creators of other planets.
Who created us in this world.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the same as the Earth.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know that.
Okay. But I mean,
that feels like it's something different.
Yeah.
It feels a little different
Okay.
than what they're saying.
Have they ever told you before that there are other creators of other like planets or worlds?
Absolutely. And that's why they want the consciousnesses who are in third density to come to fruition, to be ready to coalesce and to bring its knowledge and its understanding together. To in the future, and it could be a very long time from now. Again, I don't even know how to deal with numbers like this. But that, for all I know, it could be 5 seconds or 5 million years.
Sure.
What do I know? But that at some time, we will basically have like a super consciousness creator. Okay, that comes together and then realizes, it comes into like full self-realization. And then through that, after that self-realization, again, the way that consciousness spreads and continues forward is that it splinters again and forgets itself and begins all over again.
Sounds like it's a continual cycle.
It's a circle. It's like a cycle within a cycle. So I always say it's like babushka doll cycles, cycle within a cycle within a cycle. And it's hard to comprehend. We're proceeding through this right now.
Yeah, I've thought of that before, and I've kind of gathered that might be the case. Again, I'm not trying to be like, I know, or but we're trying to understand this experience and what's beyond, and creators, and it sounds like there's a creator or creators of this particular world and others, and then maybe a creator that created that, and then there's like this master consciousness that's all, but it just continues to create. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's so vast, right? We can't understand it, and it'll just go on forever.
And the lady, like the peach light that, that I've mentioned, she is the one who has said that, that we have forgotten, like who we are. Right. That when the council tells us to remember and to wake up, what she's saying is like a whole new level of what they're saying, which is basically you're playing. It's almost like you're all playing this game with yourself.
Yeah. You've heard that before.
When she speaks to us, when she speaks to me, I feel like she is speaking to everything and everyone. Right. And when she says you, it doesn't feel like she's talking to me. It's like she's talking to all of us simultaneously. And it really is like some kind of experience. I mean, I get chills from head to toe and tears, or without crying. I just suddenly, I have this teary response, and she will say things like, you guys, you're doing this, remember who you are. You do not have to keep doing this. Right. But I can't figure out what it is she's trying to say. It doesn't come through well enough for me. Yeah. I need to grow so I can hear her better.
Totally. Wow. It's like, this is my human self saying this. It almost feels exhausting because it's like, I'm just like, I just want to know. I want to be like, I want to be conscious and I want to know myself. I want you to know yourself collectively. Let's just know. Right. And then we're happy and we're in this like heaven-like space. But it's like, no, it sounds like it's just going to be forever. And it's just going to keep splintering off into other experiences. And it's just like crazy when you think about it on that level, like, or even your guides, right? Like, that's why I love talking to people, because everyone has different guides and different things that come through. Like, they're maybe it's not a competition. They may be more conscious than we are spiritually. Like, their veil isn't as thick. But then they don't even know. They said they may know of our creator, but they don't know the whole creator. So it's like there's these different levels. And then you have that one who's even maybe more higher. And she's like, you guys don't have to do this. So there's like layers of consciousness. That's fascinating.
Yes, it is. It is exactly like layers of consciousness. And it's quite fascinating and beautiful. And what I would hope that people would do is to start taking up a meditative practice. Yeah. And I get a lot of grief for that, but I think that there's something really powerful and positive about being able to be quiet and be still, and find a mindful way to control, your thoughts and your body. And to set intentions and goals in your life, your spiritual life, your personal life. None of those things are bad. Yeah. They don't hurt at all. And in fact, the council is saying that the more open that you are to that, the more likely that you will raise your resonance and be in the same frequency where they're in, where they can actually communicate with you.
That's really good advice.
So
I have one more question. I know we could talk forever, but just, I want to honor your time and my time. And I have a baby I have to feed at some point, but because I could talk to you forever about this, but just one more question, just because it's interesting. Oh my gosh, I just like lost my train of thought. These creators that come.
Oh, it's okay.
These guides that come through to you. Oh, are they living like a life on a planet doing things too? Or are they literally just kind of watching us and they're here to just solely like guide us? Or do they kind of like live their own lives on planets and do things? Or are they mostly just kind of like observing and trying to like message through people like you? Do you know that?
Yes. Okay. So some of them are in corporeal form, like we are.
Like a physical place, and they're doing physical things.
They're doing physical things. Okay. That's right. And then there are beings that can move in and out of physical to spiritual. And and then my understanding is that the higher that we go and coalesce, the more that we're like this ball of energy and knowledge.
Light.
And I don't know that there is a material manifestation of that as so much as it is almost like if you could think of like the ultimate library of everything that ever happened and ever will, just all being accessible.
Right. It's like a light,
through
love,
tuning
energy.
your antenna.
That makes sense.
You know,
that's fascinating. So cool.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I mean, we could talk forever, but this was a really, I think that, you know, it's like, it's a lot to wrap your brain around. So I think this is really cool for people that may not be so familiar with some of the stuff. And then for some people that are just talking about this, just the perspective that you're getting. And I'm just so grateful you're sharing this with everybody. I know it's not easy, and I know people can probably be pretty mean online, you know, and I've lost some friends over the last years to just say, you know, you've changed and you're so like out there, and I'm trying to get messages out, and it's not always easy. So I really am grateful for your voice and your bravery.
I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
you're right. It isn't easy for any of us, and I see you. I see you out there. I see a lot of us out there, you know, being very brave and courageous, and we're not. None of us are saying we have the answers.
We're just discussing things, and
we just want to discuss them and share what we experience.
Totally.
And I would love to continue we can have other conversations, you know, in the future.
Maybe we can do part 2.
I would really like to do that.
Us on what you're doing, because do you have a name of a show or anything yet? Or are you still just kind of working on it?
Okay. It's called Discerning. And and I'm trying to get it out this summer still. I know summer is coming almost to a close, but I had some other things happen in my personal and medical life that I had to take care of, and it kind of took priority and put it on the back burner. But so we're trying to play catch up and still get that out. But it'll be Discerning, and you can find me on Twitter at Anjali on Gaia, and I will post all the information there when the show is ready. I meant to mention that
that's actually how my husband found Anjali and then told me, you got to have her on your show because we saw you on Gaia. So if you're interested in this conversation, you know, check out those episodes. Gaia is obviously so cool, but Anjali has some episodes on there, and
that's right. Some Jimmy Church and Cosmic Disclosure season. I think it was 19 with Emery. Yeah. And
I should note too, have your guides told you like to go do these interviews and to share these things with the public? Is that what they're telling you to do? Yeah.
Absolutely. The press conference was incredibly stressful. And I was even told so far as to not prepare a written speech, that they would guide me through the process. And talk about a leap of faith. It was very difficult for me to do. I wanted to be prepared. I wanted to write out a speech, and they just said, no, just go forward, and we'll be there. And then at the moment when it came time, they were like, okay, just spill the beans. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, just tell them everything. I'm like, wait a minute. And that's what happened. And
I think, is it ironic that you worked in government and intelligence? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, the government knows so much, and then there's people like you that work in the government that knew things and know things, and it's like it's starting to come out. Like, it's ironic in a way that you worked in a field that's so tight-laced, but yet you have all this information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And in fact, I have some theories about that I'll be exploring in the podcast with some other veterans who are also explorers, and some who have worked in intel, and others who have just been in other armed services. We're kind of starting to gather some hypotheses, if nothing else.
That's going to be cool to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think so too. I'm excited.
Yes. Well, thank you again. It was such a gift to have you. And hopefully down the road we can do a part 2. I'd be really grateful.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will put all of Anjali's information in the bottom of the show notes so you can find her goodness all over Twitter and her show. Take care.